Welcome to the Spurs News Podcast, your home for all things Tottenham Hotspur. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Spurs News Podcast. I'm Sam, like I am every week. Joining me, as himself, once again, is Matt.
How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, trying to make an early joke. Look, try and brighten people's days, mornings. See, we record this in the morning, which always is difficult when we've played the night before and not won.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit tougher, doesn't it?
It's like it's raw, you know. If you got a couple of days in between, it's all right. But we record this on a Thursday morning, and yeah, it's like we lost last night, and it kind of sucks. And I'm still in that processing it kind of phase of like running it over in my mind, thinking, well, you know, that was bad, and yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, it's look, you know, I'm normally quite pragmatic with these kind of things, especially when it comes to Spurs. Yeah. I think to start with, like, so I don't know if he was the same, but look, put it on. I was thinking Chelsea away is always a difficult game. You know, you're not going to expect it. No matter, I think in my lifetime, your lifetime, I'd argue there's probably been a couple of seasons in that Pochettino era where I'm like, actually, I think we can get a result in. We did a couple of times, I think, didn't we? We broke the hoodoo. But I just felt that we just like like I said, so you watch it, it's Chelsea away, you think, here we go. And I felt like the players felt that as well.
Yeah,
they were like, so it's like, oh, this is Chelsea away, this is always a tough one, this is going to be tough, and it was tough. And it was almost like giving them too much respect, you know? And with that too much respect, the panic of like, you know, oh my God, this is Chelsea, we're at Stamford Bridge, this is going to be really hard. And then sort of making mistakes, which we did, two really silly mistakes that cost us 2 goals. But I felt like at half time, Conte, you know, we can only guess what he said, but it's almost like, look, you're better than you think you are, you know. In the second half,
I don't think he said that.
What do you mean?
Based on his post match, I don't think he told any of them they're better than they think they are.
Yeah, but I just
I know what you mean. He obviously said something to them to get them back into.
Yeah, I feel that Chelsea are on a different level than us. They've won the Champions League. You know, they're in a title hunt and that. But I don't think that we're as far away from them as everyone tries to assume or try to.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think we are. No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
No. Well, I mean, look. Take the 2 mistakes out. Take those 2 mistakes out. It was 0-0. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you could say take their goals away and it was 0-0. Yeah. They still scored them.
But do you genuinely think second half that they was terrorising us and they should have scored a lot more?
I think in the second half they should have definitely scored at least 2 more. Their finishing was awful. I don't think they terrorised us in the second half, but I also think they didn't get out of second gear in the second half.
You think that's what it was? They just relaxed and thought we'd take 2-0?
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely felt that if we could have grabbed a goal early in the second half, we genuinely could have got a result. Because the one thing about Chelsea, I'll say, they're the best team in Europe. You know, they've won the Champions League, so right now they are the best team in Europe. So one thing I would say about them, though, is I don't actually think that when they get into... You watch Man City getting cruise control, they win a game 5-6-0. You know, they just keep playing in cruise control. It's unbelievable. Chelsea seem to get a lead, a bit like Tottenham a little bit, and then just go, yeah, we've done it, brilliant. And then they relax. And if you can get into them then, you can suddenly turn them over. So I did have the belief that Conte could possibly inspire us to come out and do something. We could get back into the game. But I know this sounds overtly negative. From watching that game last night, I felt that the only way we would get into the game, no matter how well we played, was if Chelsea decided, you know, relaxed. Because if you watch that first half, and you're talking about the mistakes we made really were due to the pressure we were under. I know the atmosphere and stuff like that, but I mean, these are professional football players. That shouldn't, I know it does, because they're all still human, but shouldn't inspire that kind of calamity. But Chelsea were hunting us down, like 3 players swamping us every time we had the ball, and decided to press us high up. And we just didn't cope with that. Like the players, like the passing that led to their first goal, it was like an absolute cluster. I mean, I was like, how did that even happen? It's like you're watching it like unroll like a, you talk about in a disaster movie, everything feels like it goes into slow motion. You're like watching it happen. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. For me, it feels like light years away. I mean, like, to me in the Premier League right now, you've got Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. For me, are kind of in their own little level, really. And I'd put us then in a bracket with, can't believe I'm saying this, but West Ham, Arsenal, Man United, possibly throw Wolves in, I don't know, but we're in that kind of chasing pack, if you like. But I mean, again, it's just my opinion, but I don't think we're anywhere near their level.
Well, they're 10 points above us, and we've got 3 games in hand over them, so we win those 3 games in hand with 1 point behind them.
Well, yeah, granted, I'm talking about performance. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that you win those games, then we're doing phenomenal. And yeah, okay, all right. I take your point, but I'm just basing it on what I'm seeing. I watch us every week. I've watched Chelsea. I've watched us play against them last night, and I mean, I think they played us off the park with ease.
So a lot of the players that played last night for Chelsea played under Lampard, didn't they?
Fair few of them.
Few of them, yeah. And they were bang average, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, towards the end, definitely they were. They didn't play well at all. And
then you've got a manager come in of the quality of Tuchel, who's raised their level, and then you've got players more or less the same players. I know they've made additions, but more or less the same players that Lampard have, and now they're, like you say, the best team in Europe.
Well, I do think the thing to kind of focus in on that as well is the additions, because although you're looking at the same personnel on the pitch, they're being pushed. So, for example, I think one of the issues we had with our squad going stale was not necessarily the personnel we retained, but more around the fact that none of them felt under threat. None of them felt like they had to up their game, keep developing, keep working hard, because they felt like all they had to do was keep showing up because no one was pushing them out of the team. At Chelsea, Lampard had the squad there. They couldn't sign anybody. Everyone there was kind of settled, and because when he was able to sign players, they kind of bought here, there and everywhere, and he just wasn't then, with the greatest respect to him, I don't think tactically astute enough to get the best out of the squad they'd put together. When they brought, I call him Tommy Tickle, Mr. Tuchel in, he's done great. I mean, he was a great manager. I mean, he was someone I would have liked at Tottenham, so it's kind of frustrating, but if the conveyor belt continues, we'll have him at Spurs in about 3 or 4 years.
Ex-Chelsea manager.
Yeah, exactly. it's part of the criteria. Someone said to me once when I was moaning about us, Conte being ex-Chelsea, that's never worked for us in the past. Someone did say to me, if we refuse to hire anyone who's ex-Chelsea, we'd never hire another manager.
No, exactly.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, so you see the development he's had, but then they do sign big players. Like even they signed a goalkeeper for like 70 million, and then a new manager comes in, they sign another one for like 40 to 50 million. So their sub goalkeepers probably would be our most expensive signing ever. Yeah, so when I'm talking about a different level, I'm talking about the fact that you look at their bench last night. You look at ours, on paper it's like there's Dele, there's Ndombele, and you're looking at it and you think, okay, that's potential game changers. Now, anyone who's a Tottenham fan right now knows they're not. They're not that. They're just not in the form, or not, I don't know, but they're not that right now. But then you go across to their bench, Timo Werner, players like that, it's like, whoa, Jesus, he's 70, 80 million pound player. This one's Kovacic comes on. It just there is a different level to them to us, I think, and it shows in the way they operate as a club. I know that they're bankrolled. I know that it's a ridiculous situation, but I do think we as a club could operate in a way where we try and constantly develop the squad and allow a coach to build a team that also has players pushing to get into the team. Because right now, I mean, Eric Dyer, I think, was missed massively last night, because he's proven this season in a 3 that he is kind of the the linchpin, if you like, the kind of, he's the one who leads the line, he's the one, pretty much every cross, he's the one who meets it. I think Sanchez looks a lot more settled when Dyer's alongside him. And I think Tanganga last night looked like a rabbit in the headlights. And I like the kid. I like the kid a lot. But last night, I fear, proved something that I've been worried about for a little while, which is I don't think he's at the level that we want to be as a club. I think Tanganga can be an excellent Premier League defender, and he needs games to get that. Whilst he's with us right now, he's obviously very bit part because he's not a first team, and my concern is because of that, I don't think he's the player who's going to be able to be a part of us to get us to that level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also, I mean, what is he, 23 now, isn't he?
Yeah.
23.
22, 23, I'm not sure. I'll double check.
So let's presume he's, say, 20, even 22. I mean, you'd expect at that age that he'd not be the complete article, but, you've kind of... You can get away with it if you're 18, 19, can't you?
Yeah, he's 22. He turns 23 at the end of March.
Oh, there you go. So he's almost 23, isn't he? So
if you look at some of the players that are available at that age in the transfer market that are top pros, the people we would sign around that age bracket who are a level above and again, you do have to look at it and go. And I say this quite a lot, and I know I'm probably a bit of a broken record on it, is I do think we need to work on our pathway for the academy into the first team. And I also think the coaches perhaps need to be a little bit stronger. And of course, this could be a symptom of the fact we've had a real chop and change manager time recently. But if you think about Jaffa, he came in, he's been a central defender. Now, of course, at academy level, you play all over this. He probably played in goal sometimes. But he was a central defender and came through as a central defender. But then Jose wanted to convert him to a right back. Nuno wanted to keep him there as a right back. And Antonio Conte has come in and put him on the left side of a 3. Now, that's not me making excuses for him at all, but I'm just talking about these are his kind of developing years. And when he got to first team football, it was like, okay, we need you to play here, play there, play there. He's not been able to come in, settle into a side, play in a system, and learn his role. So we now get to the point, like you said, where he's 22, about to turn 23 in a couple of months. And we're all looking at it, and even though all of us watch him as a Spurs fan and are kind of delighted that he's part of our setup and everything, I think we're all now looking at it going, my fear is you're not going to be able to help us get to that next level. Because the problem is, like I said, like Dyer, there's even Tottenham fans that still have massive question marks over Dyer, Sanchez. I mean, I think Romero's our best central defender, and he's hardly played. He's out for a little bit longer. But I think last night really demonstrated, to me anyway, that he's not there. It's kind of like you can imagine him playing against Morecambe at the weekend and looking great. But we want to be, as a club, if we've got ambition like we say we do, we want to be competing with Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think it's there for him.
A good comparison would be Skip, wouldn't it, mate? That'd be a good comparison because you look.
It's a perfect example of how he looks so much better. I mean, and even Skippy last night, really struggled in the centre of the park because they hammered him. They were in on him so fast, and always 2 people in on him as well. But he worked hard to then, find more space to get on the ball better. It's difficult, but you're right. It is a good example of the levels. I think anyone watching Jaffet right now, watching Skip right now, but of course Skip played a full season in the Championship and now starts practically every game for us in the Premier League. So it kind of shows, I think, sometimes that although you'd look at Tanganga and go, surely training around these top professionals week in, week out at Hotspur Way is good for him, I think if he'd spent last season in the Championship playing every single game for a Championship club, we'd be seeing a better defender this year, if this makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And also, what comes to mind is you think of a player that didn't ever seem to get sent out on loan and was a bit part player and is now a regular, with all due respect to middle of the table Premier League team is Kyle Walker-Peters. You know.
Yeah, it's another really good example.
Yeah,
you're right. Kyle came through as the best right back of his age in every age bracket for England. And when you think about the fact that the people who he was being compared to with that, like Trent Alexander-Arnold and people like that, Reece James at Chelsea, he came through and was ahead of all of them. And he was part of the England, I think it was under 17s or under 19s that won the World Cup. And he was so important to them that they moved him to left back for that tournament because he was such a good player, but they had so many options at right back, but at left back they didn't. So they were like, no, we trust him that he can play on the left even though he's right footed, and he did.
Yeah, sure.
And he was great. And Josh Onoma, of course, was great in that. It was like a real driving force in midfield. But the problem is, and I've said it before, is like all my love for Pochettino, I genuinely feel that him not utilising loans cost us a real generation from our academy that could have been, should have been as good as the generation that came before, which was Kane, Carroll, Mason, etc., Townsend. I genuinely believe Onoma, Edwards, Kyle Walker-Peters, Cameron Carter-Vickers all would have been at that level or beyond if they'd had games. You were talking about Cameron Carter-Vickers, for example. It's like hardly ever played for us. He's been at the club and people have known his name for ages. He just goes out on loan.
Yeah.
That's all people know him for.
Yeah.
And he's up in Celtic right now. He's won the Scottish League Cup up there with them. They love him. He's like essential to their team, and they're trying to sign him and trying to do a deal for him now, which, I'm delighted for him if he gets that move, because although Scottish football I don't think is at the same level as English football, that's just my opinion, you play in one of those Glasgow clubs week in, week out with those stadium, those fans, you're going to enjoy your football. You're going to enjoy that. So, this would be a great move for him. He's a USA international. And yeah, he's a really good player, and the more he plays, like when he was in the Championship, whenever he became available for loan, every Championship club wanted him because at that level he was great, really great. He just was never able to transfer that, if you like, from the Championship to the Premier League, or to impress anybody enough that he could transfer it. But then again, if you look at Tottenham at the time, you had Vertonghen and Alderweireld, who were just, world class.
Really. Yeah, you're not going to break that bar, are you?
No, you're not. And that's, Pochettino did say, when he arrived, the level for the academy to break into the first team was a lot lower than by his third season, and he was right. Kyle Walker-Peters, for example, was never going to dislodge Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier. He wasn't. But I still stand by the fact to this day, and people might argue with me still to this day, when Kyle Walker left, we didn't need to sign a new right back.
Yeah.
We should have promoted him. Let Trippier handle, of course, most of the games, but let Walker-Peters come in and rotate, the same as what Trippier and Walker were doing. Let him come in and get that. Let him play like 20 games in his first season. Let him get to 30 in his second. And when Trippier moves on, let him be the guy. And that's all down to the pathway. This is the thing I'm sort of talking about. Is you look at the game, going back to it now, full circle, Tanganga and the errors. Passing error where he was rushed, and he looked really nervous. But the own goal, which of course is an own goal for Ben Davies, and by the way, Ben Davies looked like he was ready to fight people last night over that. He was angry, like Gentle Ben they called him. Did you see him? He was tamping. Like, they've all gone off the pitch at the end, like a little applaud to the away fans, and they've gone. And Ben is still on the pitch, basically just berating the world. He's just like ranting to himself and like punching the air. Clearly, they've just walked off and left him. They're like, oh, let Ben walk it off. because, and it's probably because he knows that's going down as his own goal. And it's like, what the could I have done about that? But, like, whenever I see things like that, I always think to myself, like, you know that old adage, like, oh, that's schoolboy defending, that's schoolboy error. It really is. If you head a ball back across the face of your... I used to remember, like, if I ever passed the ball across the face of my own goal, whoever my football coach was would go ballistic at me. It's like, it's a cardinal sin as a defender. You do not do that. It's like a invitation to the opposition. Like, here you go. Try and run onto this. And I watched Royale do it once and got away with it, and then I saw Tanganga try and do it, and it comes cannon straight off Ben Davies and into the back of our own net. I mean, you gotta just question, like, what are you thinking? You know, what is going through your mind in that instance? I mean, the analysis or the pundits they had on was Ashley Cole. And Ashley Cole was like, oh, well, you know, I'd have taken it on my chest. And that's like, oh, yeah, we all remember you, Ashley. Yeah, whatever, dude. But I loved the honesty from Michael Dawson. Just like, no, I'd never have done that. I'd have just got rid of it.
Yeah,
you know, just levered it out.
Header it out off like for a corner, yeah.
Yeah, but there's so many aspects of it. Like, you can analyse it, and I just watched it, and I kept thinking about it. Because there are so many aspects. Like, Hugo Lloris is our captain. He's a World Cup winning captain of France. He is a great goalkeeper who's in really good form at the moment. He could have come and got that. You know, Tanganga headed that into Davis, and the reason why it's so calamitous and comic worthy is because there wasn't a Chelsea player on either of them. So literally, he had the time to just put it over the bar. As Ashley Cole said, he could have chested it down and volleyed it clear. He had time. There wasn't pressure. So if there was no pressure, no Chelsea player coming steaming in, why hasn't Lloris screamed mine and come and taken it?
Yeah.
And I think part of it's down to the confidence back there. I think Eric Dyer there, Lloris is confident that Eric Dyer is going to meet that cross and that ball's gone. And then Eric Dyer is going to scream out at everybody and the whole team's going to push out. I think with Tanganga there, I don't think Lloris felt confident. They all just looked like they didn't know what to do. Like, they were rattled. It was kind of, do I come and get that? No, Tanganga's, you know, Jaffet's got it. You know, what do we do? Yeah, but I mean, I could talk about it for an hour podcast. Ain't gonna make anyone feel better.
Was Eric Dyer just been rested, or is he?
Yeah, he's got COVID.
He's got COVID, right?
Yeah, I don't think they've announced it officially, but pretty much like everyone said it. So I'm assuming that's true.
I thought that
every journalist.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought when it started the game, we realised Kante had COVID. I thought that'd be a really that'd be a bump. Because I remember.
I mean, he makes such a difference against us. Like I remember in that pre-season game with Nuno in charge, they were 2-0 up and cruising, and then they took him off, and we made it 2-2. So I like you thought, that's going to give us a real chance, but they just pressed us so well. I mean, we can talk about our failings, but I think we do have to give them a bit of credit as well. You know, they are a great side who not only are a great side, they work hard. And they made us, they forced those errors early on. One of the statistics, which I found kind of mind-blowing at one point, I don't know what point of the game I saw it, but they had like 22 shots, and we'd had 4.
Yeah.
But of their 22 shots, it was like 4 on target. I was like, that's nuts. What, you know, is that a case of they're really backing themselves from 30 yards, and they're just not hitting a barn door? Or is that actually a bit of a compliment to us that we are actually being able to, other than the 2 mistakes, we are holding the line well enough that they're having to try from here, there and everywhere? I think it could be a combination of both. But like I said, I do think if they had better, like Lukaku had his finishing boots on. That kid they signed from Ajax who scored against us in the Champions League. CH. If he had a couple of chances where really he should have done a lot better and hit it straight at Lloris. It could have been bad. You know, I think you said to me in the chat, it's like after that early goal, it's like, this could be bad. This could be a really bad night. It almost feels, this is such a stupid thing to say, but almost feels when you have a bad night like that and the team does hammer your goal a bit, losing 2-0 coming away from it, you kind of go, whew, okay, that could have been a lot worse.
Exactly.
Let's kind of let's kind of put that over there for a minute and think about it, because although it is 2-0 down, it is only half time in the tie. It is only half time, and the next game is at our stadium, and I'd like to think we will see a reaction. I mean, I'd like to think that our players are going to react to that defeat and come out in a really positive way, because at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, if we get an early goal like they did against us at the Bridge, all of a sudden it's completely game on, isn't it? You know, it's like the atmosphere in there will be unreal. We will get right into them, and if we are fired up and into it, this game is not over. And I think that's what we need to... I think that's where we need to be. I think we need to look at it and go, we had a really bad night against a very good side. That doesn't mean the next time we play them, it'll be the same.
No, and it does make a difference where you are, because Stamford Bridge, it's quite an intimidating stadium. It's like a small, it feels small. You feel like the fans are on top of you, So they've come out, like you say, pressing. We've panicked, and they've got the early goal, and then this is what I don't get as well. I said this to Seb, I think on about a half dozen occasions you could hear them singing "Stand Up If You Hate Tottenham." Yeah. I've never in my life, all the games I've been to at Spurs, ever sang "Stand Up If You Hate Chelsea." Arsenal, every game, 2 or 3 times. So surely if it was a true rivalry, we'd be singing that all the time. So they're just like West Ham. They're just these bellends that just hate us for whatever reason, And it probably felt intimidating.
I got this theory, right? And I'm nervous about discussing this theory on the podcast. And I've had it for ages. And the longer it goes on and the more it dwells in my brain, the more I kind of want to air it, because I'd love to know if other people think I'm being mad and paranoid or what. So I am going to do it this week. I'm feeling brave. I'm going to raise this week because I'd love to know your opinion, and we're going to record it so other people can get in touch. We are generally hated a lot by other teams. Like in London teams, just like you said, like us and Arsenal, okay, there's history, there's geography. It makes sense. We know why us and Arsenal don't get on. But why is it that like Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham fans can all be put in a room and love each other because they all hate us? Does that make sense? Like you just said then, like Chelsea fans... they don't seem to have this with Arsenal. They don't seem to have this with West Ham, Charlton, Fulham, any of them.
Palace, yeah.
It is us. And when you I'm trying to think about it, and I'm like, if we were the Man United of London, we won trophies galore on a regular basis, then you'd think that everybody hates us because of that, but we're not. We're not a trophy-laden club. We're a club that is thereabouts, always trying to do better. There's nothing about, we're not owned by some gajillionaire oligarch that plays with us. There's no reason to look at Tottenham and hate Tottenham, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to do this as a kind of neutral, as if I'm looking at it for a reason.
As a Bristol City fan, there we go.
As a Bristolian, there you go. Yeah, proper job. Yeah, I see. Whenever I put on like my really thick Bristolian accent, people can't understand me, for one, but two, I actually sound like my family, which is worrying. It's like I did it for something. My daughter's an actress. I think I've said this before, and they asked her to put together an accent show reel. And I can do various accents for different things. And one of the ones they really wanted her to work on was West Country, which is hilarious because that's where she's from. So I did this whole monologue thing for her in the thickest Bristolian accent I can do. And when I listened to it back, I was like, oh my God, that's my Uncle Richard. So I literally sound just like him. That's so creepy. So clearly that's how I've modelled. I've got this in my brain. How to sound like absolute Bristolian numpty. Yeah, read my babby, how are you? Anyway, I digress. I've come up with this theory. And I want to, I'm nervous about it because the press lay into us as well. I know every club thinks everyone's against us, but genuinely, if you ever listen to reporters talk about Tottenham and everything, they almost swear our names sometimes. And when I say it like that, I mean it's like, Tottenham lost in the. They almost seem to take delight when we fall over. Does this make sense? Yeah. Do you notice that as well? Mate, do you think this is all down to a historic anti-Semitism? And I know I've just thrown that out there, right? And I know I've just... So let me just let you gather your thoughts on it, because we as a club have got a massive, history with the Jewish community. And because of that, we, the Yad Army chant, everything like that exists. And there's a whole history to that. And if people want to know about that, I'll be delighted to go into it, but I won't do it this week. But I keep struggling to try and find a reason why the media don't like us. Like, there's no reason why not to like us. Even when we had Pochettino, we were bringing for all these England players. Everything about us was good, and the vast majority of people said we were great. Everyone's still delighted every time we didn't win. You know, the whole...
three-horse race
third
thing.
in a two-horse race thing. Yeah,
race, yeah.
It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why did everyone want... Why was the fairy tale Leicester? You know, it was Leicester and Tottenham. Why wasn't the fairy tale Tottenham and Leicester competing for the title in that amazing? It wasn't. It was Leicester. We want Leicester. We want Leicester. Tottenham. Oh, the big evil Tottenham chasing the big evil Tottenham. We not won a title since the 60s. It's not like we win it every season and all of a sudden everyone was against us. Like, everybody. And it doesn't make sense to me unless you try and take it to some sort of... Years and years and years ago, everybody hated Tottenham because of the Jewish links, and so they've been raised on hating Tottenham. So it's kind of like it's become institutionalised. We don't like them because of this. If you went and asked, like, Chelsea fans or everything, like, why do you hate Tottenham? I don't think they could actually give you an answer. I think it would just be, oh, we hate Tottenham. Yeah, but why? You know, do you think I'm reaching? Do you think I'm mad with this theory?
No, I don't, because... it's a bit like you know when I was trying to you know when we get fed up, like say we've lost 2 or 3 games, and then you look on social media and people are like, oh, it only happens to us, we're so Spurs, this happens to us, and I try to make the point that you probably go to any team and you know, they're all going, oh, why does it only happen to us, right? So I get that, right? I get that. But what I don't get is that, like we said, right? So the Chelsea fans singing "Stand Up If You Hate Tottenham," right? You got all the Chelsea fans singing that. I think I've said this to you before, or I mentioned in the podcast. I had a West Ham fan that genuinely, with no hint of sarcasm or taking a mickey, said he feels happier when Spurs lose than when West Ham win.
Yeah,
right?
I've had that. Yeah.
Right. Right, you the Arsenal. Right, I don't think I even need to mention Arsenal because it's a natural. It's a natural.
I was going to say, I never look at that as anything more than what it should be.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Because you could because I go when I go to work, when I go on the train, I go past the Arsenal stadium because it's right next to Finsbury Park Station. It's right next to it. The train, literally, you can see it. But then, just before,
I've actually been on that train line a lot.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. But just before you get to it. Just before the train gets to the Arsenal stadium, you look over and you can see the Spurs stadium. It's like, you know, you see those Google Maps when you sort of whizzing along. You can see 2 stadiums in your eye line, which is really unusual. So
it is. West London for you.
but I mean, it just proves that, you know, how local how close
the
we
geography,
are. You know, so I get that, you know, but I don't like genuinely, right. I don't like to hate people or hate things, but I do have a bit of a hatred for Arsenal because they're our rivals, right? I don't like them. I just you know, like if I watch Arsenal play any team, I want to see them.
I'm with the other team.
I want to see them lose, right? West Ham, Chelsea. I don't really care. Right,
No,
I genuinely don't care. I'd watch Chelsea. I don't know, Chelsea Brentford or Chelsea Liverpool. Whatever.
And I just watch the game and enjoy the game. Yeah.
I'm not feeling anything. I'm not wanting to see Chelsea lose.
Same as you.
Right, but like you say, the other way round, they have this absolute utter hatred to the point where they're all singing "Stand Up If You Hate Tottenham," or they'd rather see us lose than see their own team win. So there has to be something there, and
it ain't just them either. You know, you go around Charlton fans, Fulham fans, Millwall hate us. What the hell have we ever done to Millwall?
Yeah. Exactly.
What the hell? Like, one of my friends is a season ticket, or at least he was a season ticket holder at Millwall for like 10 years. He used to give me crap constantly. Like, we'd lose a game and I'd get a message from him. I'm like, dude, what? You're Millwall. What are you doing? You just lost to Bristol Rovers. Not even the better team in Bristol, you know? Shut up!
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's one of those things where I've kind of thought it for a while, and I've not aired it and I've not voiced it because I analyse myself a lot and I look at it and go, nah, you're probably, that's probably not what it is. But I do think it's a conversation that we ought to have, and I think more people ought to ask themselves, because it is in the media as well.
Yeah.
The print media, everyone. It's just constantly, if Man City lose a game after winning 9 in a row or something, and it's like, oh, Man City lost, finally their winning run's come to an end, but, they're such a great team, blah, 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 blah. And you go through any club, in the Premier League, and you'll get similar stuff. Tottenham could win 5 games in a row, and the articles would still be about they're going to fall any minute now. This is Tottenham. They're going to balls this up any second now. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It just it doesn't make sense. And like you said, I look at it and go, that's just me feeling like everyone's against us. Everyone feels that way. But I do think it's more than that. It is weird. It's like weird.
Yeah, and also as well, you look at our history, and like we've always been a team that just tries to play good football. Like
the Tottenham way.
Yeah, the Tottenham way. And look, you can go, I'm sure all teams try to play good football, but look at West Brom when they're in the Premier League, or Burnley, or Bolton. Yeah. Not every team tries to play good football. Survival football, yes. Surviving in a league that you're in. We've never been like that. We've always tried to play entertaining football, like you say, the Spurs way. Look at we did the Christmas podcast, and we was asked for our 3 favourite players. We were talking about the Gascoignes and the Hoddles and the players that are
Ginola,
the Ginolas, the players that have always entertained. So
I did also say Gary Mabber, but that's a very personal thing.
Of course, of course, yeah. No, forget about that. That's why I didn't mention that one. Yeah. But we've always been a team that have wanted to play football, a bit like Leeds are now. Like Leeds are struggling, but they try to play football. They want to entertain. So again,
I do enjoy watching them.
Yeah, so
even when they're getting battered,
of course. But they try to play football. So from that point of view as well, why should there be the hatred? Because this is just a club that are just trying to entertain and play good football. It
is funny. It is odd, but like I said, I've aired it now. I'm sure I'm going to hear about it. So get in touch. Let me know what you think. I don't know whether that's. Like I said, I genuinely don't know. I do reflect a lot on these things, but all I ask is that people, if you've got an initial reaction to that, telling me to shut up or whatever, think on it a little bit before you tell me to shut up. Because, like I said, it is just a thought. It's just my opinion. And it's just something that's been niggling at me. So I've aired it now. Let's see what happens.
Just thinking out loud, mate. And you're just thinking.
Yeah, thinking out loud. Okay, well, it's time to take the podcast into the direction of our social media, and we'll see what our fellow Tottenham fans have asked us this week.
Now it's time for your comments from our social media.
You want to start Instagram or Facebook, sir?
Well, do you know, I always say we always start with Instagram. Let's change it up a little bit, shall we? Should we go Facebook first?
We shall start with the Book of the Face. We are opening with a question from Ryan Miller. How you doing, Ryan? Happy New Year. If Lloris does leave in the summer, who would be your next captain? Ryan picks Højbjerg. Very unpopular opinion, by the way, Ryan. If you go to Twitter last night, his performance has been broken down into various videos where he was not a very impressive chap last night. People were not impressed. Or a wild card pick for Ryan would be Oliver Skipp. Okay, yeah, that's easy. What about you, mate? If Lloris said, you know what, actually I'm going to go play in America and earn some silly money whilst relaxing on a beach before I retire. So thanks for the new contract offer, but I'm good. And we did have to appoint a new captain for next season. Who would you pick?
So I think Skipp. It's a bit too early for Skipp, I think.
Okay.
Initially my mind kind of went to Kane. I feel like he's the England captain. No, yeah. I know you've got your problems with him, but but look, it's no coincidence that he's England captain. He leads from the front, and my kind of initial thoughts go towards him, but. Maybe a shout for Dyer, maybe because of where.
That was actually going to be my pick. Was Eric Dyer? I think if I didn't have the issues I have with Kane, I think any player that kind of tries to force his way out of a club, I think you've got to go over a bit of hot coals before you can take the armband. In my personal opinion, just look at Aubameyang at Arsenal. He's their captain, and he's done all he can to leave, and looks like he's going to now. It creates all sorts of havoc. But like the Eric Dyer thing, like I've always liked Eric Dyer. A bit like the song. I love Eric Dyer. But he had some time where he wasn't playing well and didn't look happy and comfortable. But you look at him now, playing in that 3 under Conte, he looks to me like a real good Premier League level defender, European football level defender, and with better players like Romero alongside him, etc., and possibly one other, I think he's a mainstay for us for a good few more years. And he's also appears to be a very articulate, very well respected member of the squad. So for me, that'd be who I'd pick.
And he's got the passion as well. And I mean, if you ever want to see how much passion he's got, just see that. That's why he jumped into the stands.
And the guy. You wouldn't give our new captain any shit from the stands, would you? Dyer, you're rubbish. And he turns around. But you're lovely. He's a freaking unit as well. Yeah. Something Stefan fame said to me last night in a message when Skip got substituted. He was like, "Geez, you don't really see it all the time because of like the camera angles and stuff." But he's a freaking unit.
Yeah,
he's a
big guy.
built kid. But he's got that face. Like he's still got that young face. Does that make sense? He still looks like he's done the whole time he's been in the academy. He's got that kind of baby-faced assassin, but he's built. You know, that season on loan at Norwich, just physical development wise, the kid is a real unit.
It just shows you. Do you know what? I don't know if you noticed this as well, but who's the guy, the Chelsea player that came on, double barrel surname? His name escapes me. Second half, he came on quite late. It's going to kill me now.
Sorry,
but
no, can't think.
Massive now, huge. You know, and when they develop, they're just like, wow. You know, like I don't remember you being this big.
Hello, mate. No, I also remember when I was playing rugby, it was quite funny. We because you go through the age groups, like your squad and stuff like that. And I always remember we came back for like a pre-season once, and there was this kid. He was this tiny little kid. Loved the game, but used to get hammered every week, right? He'd end up basically leaving the pitch in tears most of the way through, like the under 10s, under 11s. He used to just get murdered. But he loved the game. And he was quite good, but he was just so small. And we came back in the pre-season. I was like, oh Christ, who's the new player over there? And everyone was like, oh, I don't know. He must be joining us for this season. And he came over, and we're like looking at him, and like, little Louis, is that you?
Louis, yeah.
The kid grew like a foot in every direction. He was a monster. He went from playing on the wing in rugby to being in the second row.
Wow.
He was huge. And the funny thing was, like, his voice had broken and everything. So we're all like, little Louis, is that you? He's like, hello guys. Like, oh my god. I always remember that. It cracked me up. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes, especially when you watch the academy like I do, the great example is Dylan McCanday this season. He like last few years, like a really tricky, skillful winger. I was worried about the physicality. Clearly, he just hit the gym last pre-season because he's come back like absolute beast mode.
Yeah, he's.
But anyway, sorry. Get back to the questions. Hopefully, Ryan, that's answered for you. Barry Fowles says, should Scarlett go out on loan? Can't be doing much for his development sitting on the bench every week. Lad needs games. Keeping him as he's our only striking option other than Kane is a bit ludicrous. We need to sign another centre forward. I agree with the centre forward thing. I think that's definitely needed. Scarlett go out on loan. Yeah, maybe. The only reason why I'm saying maybe is he's still very young. Another season playing in the academy and working wouldn't be the end of the world for him. Like Troy Parrott, for example, needed to go out when he did, possibly a little bit earlier than he did. With Scarlett, I don't know. It's going to be about finding the right club. Because the kid is ridiculously talented, but physically I still think he's developing. You go to the wrong club, like the wrong league, and some 38-year-old decides to snap his legs. It's kind of a big deal. So I'm not sure about the loan. It's funny because like I've just said about how important it is for these players to get games, and I stand by that. But I do think every individual player, you have to have a unique pathway for them. And I think with Dane, it wouldn't be awful for him to finish this season playing under 23s at that level, because of course he's still technically in the under 18 squad.
Yeah.
Let him play in the under 23s at that level against physically stronger people, build himself confidence wise, and then next season, you find him alone, League One, for example, where he can learn what it is to play first team professional football. One of the things they talk about a lot of players when they come back on loan is what they learn or what they experience the most, or the thing that sticks with them, is when they're playing in the lower leagues, you're playing with people who are literally playing for their lives. So you go down, you play in League 2, for example, you got guys who aren't earning the Premier League millions, and if their team gets relegated or if their team doesn't get promoted, they're potentially out of a job. And like there's ground staff there you get to know, kit guys there you get to know, who literally would lose their job if the club's relegated. So it feels like everything matters, like it's heightened beyond all belief. And sometimes the young players, they need that. They need to feel that, this is not just you're kicking it around anymore. This is professional football. You need to be on it. You need to be at a level every week. I'm not sure he's there yet, but that's just my opinion.
It's still a lot of time, like you say. It's a lot of time, isn't it?
There is. John Dyer says, tough month of fixtures in January. Isn't that the truth, mate? Can the club compete in 3 competitions? ? Should certain games be prioritised? I take progression in the cups over a win in the North London derby, but I might be in the minority. Oh, that's a tough one.
No.
I'm going to say something really controversial now. I would prefer to beat Chelsea in the league than I would to win the next cup game and go through to the final of the League Cup. That is controversial, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the thing we're struggling with at the moment is that you take our best 11, our first 11, I guess, under Conte, you and the rest aren't good enough, are they? And
no,
you kind of need more than that, really, if you're going to compete on multiple cups. And it's proved with the with European adventure, if you call it that, that's not the second string so much, but like the fringe players just aren't up to a level, are they? And
agreed.
I don't. What's it take? I mean, like I always think back to I know you mentioned it earlier, that time when Leicester won the league, and they were so lucky, and Liverpool were lucky. Liverpool were lucky when they won the league as well. They didn't have many injuries. They had almost the same.
At the difference. Look at the difference when Van Dijk was out injured the next season.
There you go. Yeah.
They kind of, went through that season, everyone playing, everyone not injured, and stormed it. And then the following season, they had started like crazy. I mean, it's still a good side, but started like crazy. It is. I mean, I don't like doing the whole let's prioritise this over this, because it kind of makes it sound like, well, we don't care about that competition. I mean, we'd all love to win any of it, So me saying, I take this over that because I don't want to play in a cup final. I mean, that's a nonsense. Of course I want to see us in a cup final. I mean, we were in the League Cup final last season. We did what we normally do. But I just look at it and I'm trying to be pragmatic. I think it's the right word. Perhaps negative. Perhaps I'm being negative, but I like to think I'm trying to be pragmatic in Conte's. This isn't his first full season with us. I know he's had a good bit of time now, and he's got a lot of work to do, and he keeps saying that, which is going to be multiple transfer windows, multiple kind of changes and sessions. And I think having a full pre-season next summer is going to be such a big difference. Whatever squad you put together, I think a full Antonio Conte pre-season will make a big difference to this squad learning, because he's having to come in and kind of coach them in between games. You know what I mean? Like try and break bad habits, create new ones. It can't be easy. And I don't think it's any coincidence that when we had the forced COVID break, he was able to talk to more of them. Even if they weren't able to train, which they weren't, he was able to coach them. He talks about how he spent a lot of time on the phone, on Skype to them in isolation, going over, right, I want you to watch this game, I want you to watch this, I want you to look at these scenarios. My analyst has put this together that our next opposition, the winger, he comes in on his right foot 90% of the time. So you be aware of it, And I don't think it's any coincidence that our results picked up and our performance levels picked up because he had more time to really drill into things.
Well, the first game back after that COVID enforced break was a Liverpool game, and look how well we played.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think it's a case of time. So the prioritising thing, I don't know. I mean, the reason why I said what I said is I look at it and go, if at the end of the season, and I know this is a massive if at the end of the season we've managed to grab top 4, we've grabbed 4th spot, so we've got the Champions League football again next season. If we have achieved that, and then you look at the season and you go, well, the Europa Conference League was ridiculous, but we reached the semi-final of the League Cup, wherever we get in the FA Cup. You'd look at that season and go, that was actually quite good.
Yeah.
For Anthony Conte coming in, you'd look at that and go, yeah, they've almost overachieved in that first, part season that he's had. Now, with the Champions League football secured, surely he can get the reinforcements he needs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's kind of... So in my mind, that's the priority. And it goes against a lot of what I've said, which is, top 4 can't be the be-all and end-all football, and it really shouldn't be. But I think in the position we're in right now, if I were to prioritise games, losing these games against Chelsea but beating them in the league and beating Arsenal in the league with our games in hand would be massive. We turn over those 2 teams and still have the 2 to 3 games in hand over to certain clubs. It's huge. You can't even put into words how massive that would be in terms of us being able to try and grab 4th spot. But I don't know. The other thing about football, of course, is momentum. You start losing games, all of a sudden you can't break it. So
yeah, sure.
It's not easy. But I prioritise something over winning the North London. I don't know. I want to beat Arsenal. They absolutely embarrassed us earlier in the season,
and it's more than
I want to pay that back.
Yeah, it's more than just a game. I keep telling Sebi that because we're going obviously next weekend, and I keep saying to him, mate, you haven't experienced anything. You won't have experienced anything like you're going to experience at North London derby. I can't. No. It's one of those things where you can't even put into words. And that goes back to what we was talking about earlier with the rivalry thing. This is a true rivalry. It's a true rivalry where both sets of fans truly hate each other.
Yeah, and it feels like every game against them, there's something at stake.
Yeah.
And it is important, and given the league positions and everything right now, it is massively important. We beat them, and we can really grind them into the dirt. We can break this run they're on. We can, anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Next one is from Tom Perks, who says, do you think we should have an affiliate or feeder club? How do they work? I know Chelsea used to send their players to Vitesse, and City have clubs, they got them all over the place. How do they work? Okay. Affiliate agreements vary massively, so there's no kind of a blanket agreement, but I think the one you're kind of thinking of is where you've got an agreement with a club where you send players to go on loan. We as a club have never had a formal affiliate, but due to connections with the club, we've had clubs over the years where we have done stuff with. Swindon was one. We'd always send players to Swindon. A few others, but they've kind of gone. I mean, the thing that we look at now as a club, whenever we're sending a player out on loan, is we want to look at the coaching setup at the club we're sending them to. So even more so than the level. So, like, for example, if you've got a championship club, but the coach there who wants the player plays 4-4 effing 2, we don't care about football. We just want to put it long into the box. We want your guy to be a target man, blah blah. But then you've got a club in League One, a division lower, where it's all about playing the same way that Tottenham want to play. We will send the player to League One to play under that coach because we want the player to develop habits that are the right habits, the right way of playing football, how we view the right way of playing football. You don't send him to Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's that's not being disrespectful, because all these different methods and ways win football matches, but we as a club, that's what we focus on. So I don't think we're likely to tie into affiliate agreements in the sense of every year we will send academy players to you because of X. I know for quite a while there were talks going on with Ajax about an agreement where academy players from us would go there and academy players from there would come to us in a kind of training exchange to helping develop players. So our players would go there and play under like a Dutch coaching system. Their players would come here, experience the English league, because the focus in academy football in Holland is skills. It's, there's no focus on winning games. It's just skills. Here, from as soon as you can kick a ball for a local club, you're in a league. It's competitive. You're playing for points. It's a very different style, and so there were talks about that for ages, but it just didn't materialise. So, I don't think there's anything in place. I'm not sure. There's pros and cons. The kind of pro is obviously you've always got somewhere to send a player to get games, but the con is if that club changes manager, coaches, whatever, and they play a system that your players come back and all they can do is lump the ball 30 yards, you've not achieved anything.
Yeah.
Liam Hickey says, why do we struggle against the low block? When teams go ultra defensive, we lack any killer passing. Kind of answered your own question, I think, but why do we struggle? I don't know. Matt, do you want to take a stab? I mean, I've got a theory, but
I think it's always a struggle, isn't it, for any team? You kind of... I mean, we've got a player that has the ability to unlock teams when they're really ultra defensive on Ndombele, but unfortunately, with all the ability he's got, as with the Chelsea game yesterday, he's just lazy and just terrible attitude, And sometimes you need a player like that, which is possibly maybe what we need. I don't know, but I think Lucas is the closest we've got to a player that's willing to run and make them.
That's fair.
But. I think a lot of it comes down to confidence as well, because you look at Matt Doherty, for example, and like when I watched it yesterday, he when he was at Wolves, he was just running for fun. I mean, I remember he scored against us, and he was a wing back, he was running in, he's knocked the crossing in, he was on the end of stuff. But when the confidence is low, it's almost like they're frightened to make a run or to make the pass, and then when you've got players that haven't got that confidence, then they're not going to break teams down or go ultra defensive. So, like you said with Conte, give him a pre-season, let him instill the confidence with the players, get the right players in, and then you'll see that. But at the moment, I'd argue it's probably a case of just lack of confidence, and
I agree. My theory on it is massively around confidence, because when we were at our absolute best, we destroyed teams. The Pochettino at White Hart Lane, teams would come and set up. And I know we didn't win every game, but we would break teams down just through sheer repetitiveness of we would just keep the ball moving. And every player in that Tottenham team wanted the ball, felt they could do something with the ball, and also made themselves available for the pass. If you watch that game, you're referencing Watford game, I'd imagine, because it's the most recent example. The biggest frustration for me is that hardly anybody on a regular basis was working hard to find space. And I know you can argue, well, they had 10 men behind the ball. It was still possible, but the only solution seemed to be to come deep. And the problem with that is our outlet is our wide players. So we hit in a Premier League record number of crosses and no one scored from them. And the reason why that is because to try and find space, Kane, Sonny, Lucas all came deep. When in reality, what you wanted them to do is hold the line up there. They are willing to sit behind the ball, so stay up there. Stay there. Let us put the ball in the box to you and bloody move. Drop and then sprint. One of you go near post, one of you go far post. Pull defenders here, there, and everywhere. Because if you look at, and don't get me wrong, you can be critical over the crossing quality, and that's fine. But if you look at the sheer number of crosses we hit in the box that no one from Tottenham shirt was attacking, I'm not just talking about didn't get to them because the defending was good. I mean, not even looking to attack the ball, just stood there watching it like, oh look, Emerson's got the ball again. Go on, Royal. Oh, he crossed it. No one's there. Oh, maybe I should have been there. It was bizarre. It was, I remember watching, to use Chelsea as an example, Lampard used to score so many goals just arriving. Like, the first ball would get nodded out and Lampard would just arrive, like, out of nowhere and hit it and score. That bloke made his career from doing that. There's, like, no Tottenham player thinks to themselves, I know what I'll do. I'll go for the second ball.
Yeah.
If we're whipping the crossing constantly and they're defending it, they're getting their head to it, I'm going to linger, and as soon as I see someone's got there, I'm just going to go for it, because if I get onto it, I've got a shot, I've got a free opportunity. But no one is, and it's a confidence, I don't know. It's bizarre, but I'm hoping we correct.
But like I say, I mean, I know I gave Doherty as an example, but another one would be like Sessegnon. I know he's been out for a bit, but he was another one that was doing the same with Fulham, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and it's just you can do it.
Yeah, they got the ability to do it, but it's whether they can mentally get back to doing it. Doherty, for me, I think he needs to move on for him and us. Yeah. I just think you got to look at it and go, look, this hasn't worked. For all the right intentions for everybody, it's not worked. No. Go and play somewhere else. Yeah. Sessegnon, I think his confidence issue comes from his injuries. I think he, as a young player, relied on his pace a lot, and now he's nervous to do that. It's like, if anyone's ever torn their hamstring, it's like you get shot in the leg. And when you're recovering from it, to then sprint again is like, oh, I don't want to. Yeah, sure. Oh, if I sprint and that happens again, I think a lot of that stems from that, and then that has him hesitant and nervous in other aspects of his game. But again, it's like a time thing. The longer he can go out there and play and get going, I think he'll be great for us. Yeah. I still do. Okay, so going over to Instagram. Zaphod34, Zaphod, Zaphod. Yeah, okay, I think I got that right. My question is, if we don't spend during the window, this window, how long before Conte walks? I don't think this window. I think there should be some business done. But I think if in the summer, I genuinely think, if in the summer he sits down and they go, yeah, we've analysed it, Antonio, and we've got £2.50 in a Jermaine Genius bobblehead to pay for players, so we're going to re-sign Gregor Raziak. I think Anthony Conte will go, thank you very much, I'm just going to exercise the clause in my contract, goodbye.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because one of the things I think about him that a lot of Tottenham fans really like, and I think are really passionate about him being our manager about, is he is here to win. He's not here to go, wouldn't it look good on my CV if I was able to get Tottenham back into the Champions League? He literally arrives at clubs and goes, right, I want to win stuff. I'm here. But, they're kind of like the Jose Mourinho mentality, but with someone who can actually coach players.
Yeah.
I think you said, like combining Jose with Pochettino, an ability to coach and a proven track record. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's going to settle for the club giving him crap along the lines of, oh, well, yeah, but the Europa League would be okay. I think his attitude will be, no, it's not okay. You got the stadium, you got the training ground, you got me. Don't spend like we're a freaking, Conference League team. We got to be going up a level. And I do get the impression he'll be quite direct with that, and I think he already is starting to be. So how long until he walks? I don't think this way. I don't think, unless something disastrous happens. Like in this window, we sell Harry Kane and we replace him with some unknown kid from non-league. And then I think Anthony Conte might go, you're taking the piss out of me, goodbye. But in that very unlikely scenario aside, I don't see him walking away in January. No. In the summer, I think he might get a proper piss on, but we'll have to wait and see. The next question's from a man who normally has his very own intro, and I'm sorry you're not going to have it this week because I've been banned from using it. I need to get you a new one that's recorded just by us, so apologies. But the question is from the Mountain Man, who says, Happy New Year to you all on the Spurs News team. I would like to hear your net spend predictions for the transfer window. Closest answer wins a virtual bear hug. It would be a bear hug from the Mountain Man, wouldn't it? I imagine him like wearing like bear fur. He's like That's it. That's all he wears, bear fur and pants.
But you need, well, I think you have to wear the bear fur if you're up in a mountain, don't you? So yeah, that's a given.
Yeah. Trapped it, skinned it himself blatantly. Okay, net spend. Did you say for this transfer window? Oh dear. Net spend. So you're thinking about net sales. We'll probably. Oh, see, this window, I don't know. Right, I'm going to throw a figure. I'm going to just say 30 million.
Yeah, I'd go 20 million net.
Yeah, net. All right. 30 million, Sam. 20 million, Matt. I've still got your prediction for how many goals Harry Kane we get, by the way. Just letting you know. Still written down. The final question, again on Instagram, and it's from the Stuff and Things podcast. Now, I don't know if he did this on purpose as a bit of, promotional thing, but I'm going to use it that anyway. I do another podcast talking about TV and films, and it's called the Stuff and Things podcast. So this is my co-host has written this comment. Happy New Year, gents. So my question is, keep, release, sell. A bit like Snog, marry, avoid. 3 players in January window, go. So we have to pick someone to keep, someone to release, not just sell, release, and then someone to sell. So is there someone in the squad? Right, so pick one member of the squad you definitely keep.
Well, I know you're not going to, this might be your one, but for me, Harry Kane.
Yeah. Okay, all right. I'd go Oliver Skip. Release, so someone in the squad you'd just be happy to go. Laters. Goodbye. See you later.
Matt Doherty.
Yeah, Matt Doherty. I kind of feel bad now, but yeah, Matt Doherty.
Would we get a fee for him? I don't think we would we?
I don't think we'd care. I genuinely think if the club went, we've cancelled the contract with Matt Doherty today, we've taken a 10 million hit, most fans would go, worth it.
Yeah, but I think, to be honest, it'd be like an all-round thing. I mean, he just looks permanently unhappy, doesn't he? It's like a dog that just needs to be put down. Do you know?
Yeah. Just someone take him to another team, leave him there at their training ground and drive away.
Yeah.
Like, you're free now. Run, boy. Yeah. Sell. Yeah. Okay. Who would you say?
Well, I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer, and Ndombele.
Yep. Yeah. Same. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we're pretty much the same. Okay. All right. So thank you. That was from Stefan of my Stuff and Things podcast co-host fame. So thank you to everybody for all of the questions. We've got FA Cup weekend coming up where we play Morecambe. Looking forward to it because it's the FA Cup, and the FA Cup still means quite a lot to me because I'm old.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Actually, me and Seb are going to the game. We're not sitting in our usual seats.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of discussion over this, haven't we? Because of the new standing policy.
Yeah, we're gonna have standing fans at the Morecambe game.
Yeah, so we normally sit. Row 53, I think it's not standing, but I found a couple of tickets in row 6 in the south. So, but like I said to you, I think probably from a novelty point of view, you might get some people standing, but it's not going to be like, like, I know this goes without saying, but it's not going to be like the Arsenal game, is it? I can imagine most people are going to be sitting just because it's just. Yeah. It's with all due respect, it's Morecambe, isn't it? With all due respect.
with all due respect to FA Cup giant killers Morecambe.
do you know what this is? Yeah. This made me think, right? And I know I mentioned this at the time, but when you I was talking about how Man City are the only fans that come to the stadium and are genuinely quite quiet, and mostly because we've beat every time they come to us. But it's a bit like probably what it will be when we watch Morecambe. I can't imagine there's going to be much of an atmosphere because it's that expectation, and I guess that's what it's just natural, isn't it? If you're playing a team that you're with all due respect, kind of quite superior to, then you kind of, it's almost like that expectation thing. Whereas an Arsenal game, I know that's a rivalry, or Liverpool, it's like, come on, this is so competitive, and I'm sure we'll enjoy it. And I picked the 6th row because I thought then Seb can be really close to the players then from that point of view. But I don't know, I'd expect a decent result.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Bloody hope so. I need cheering up.
Yeah.
But that is our show. Massive thank you to everybody for listening once again. We will be back next week. Until then, everybody, you stay safe. Take care.
Yeah, take care, mate.
Thank you for listening to the Spurs News Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Stay up to date with all things Tottenham. Follow us on social media. All links are in the podcast description.